Saying that men lead in a couple's dynamic, I don't think that's real, eh?
Leadership is inherently masculine. Women who do it become more masculine. I notice masculine energy in you. There's a certain masculinization.
Women compete with each other.
No one denies it.
Yeah, but we've seen that side often. You avoid it.
Conflict as much as possible until...
It's unavoidable. No, physical conflict, which is different. We avoid physical conflict. No.
And psychological as well.
No?
The conflict...
Psychological. Do you think women avoid conflict? How many women do you interact with?
To a certain extent, until the glass overflows, yes. Marina, are men typically more submissive than women?
I mean, historically, I don't know, but to me it seems no.
Marina, no, it's...
Because everything starts from the fact that you and I have different concepts of what a romantic relationship is. And in a romantic relationship, I don't think anyone should lead over the other, but it happens. It's cooperation. But a car doesn't have two.
A ship can't have two captains, just like in relationships. And women, you look for a dominant, assertive, competent man, someone with leadership, someone better than you. Are you looking for a superior? Yes.
If that's true, would just 1% of men reproduce?
No. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Factory. Today's show is different. Today, we're going to have another face-to-face debate. On my left-hand side, we have Antonio De Pil. Do you already know him? He defends the red pill and some conservative views, but he's more red pill than conservative. Right, Antonio?
That's right.
That's right. And to my right, we have Marina, a young woman who doesn't define herself as a woke feminist. But correct me if I'm wrong, you do have some support for feminism in its early stages.
Should I explain it now? Do you want me to?
Yes.
Okay, well, what I want to explain is the defense that I make. And what I think we should stand up for as feminism, what I think feminism should be, is saying that women are human beings. What does this mean? That we are neither beings of light, nor are we people who are above good and evil. Women can be very good, we can be very cooperative, we can be very empathetic, but we can also be bad people. We can be murderers, we can be, how should I put it? We can also be very manipulative or even psychotic. We're not above it. So I think what we need to advocate for is legal equality. It doesn't make any sense to require that men receive harsher sentences in the justice system. I mean, that's like assuming that we aren't responsible for our own actions, and therefore we have less responsibility for what we do. That's one thing. Then, I also believe women are just as capable as men of making their own decisions, being independent, and taking responsibility for them. Everything we decide has a series of consequences, and we have to be responsible for our decisions. All these kinds of paternalistic speeches like, no, because or because society tells us, what about that? I think that's crap. I mean, when you're an adult, you have to be responsible for the decisions you make. Women in today's society, in Western society, are perfectly free to decide what we want to study and what we want to work in. We manage our own money, we can buy ourselves a house. So always using that paternalistic talk or saying we need quotas. If you're doing well on your own, you don't need a crutch. I mean, if you claim that women need someone to help us or lift us up, what you're really saying is that we're not capable on our own. So what I stand for is that we are just as capable as men of getting wherever we want to go. Whether it's leading in major companies, starting a family, or managing assets, whatever it may be. And then, on the other hand, I think feminism has made mistakes throughout history, not just WOW feminism, but from the very beginning. It has shown a great disregard for motherhood. What defines us as women is our ability to be mothers. Are we biologically and psychologically ready? That doesn't mean we have to be, since many people don't want children, which is respectable. But biologically, everything about our biology, everything about our psychology is focused on the fact that we can be mothers. And I think, me right now, I'm just in the process where I want to be a mother. I think there's nothing more empowering than being one. To think that my body is capable of bringing a person into this world, of producing the food to sustain them during the first months, I don't think anything's more important. Each and every person on the face of the earth has been given birth to by a woman, all of them. So why has feminism shown that kind of disdain from the very beginning? that there have been so many women who have felt judged or looked down on by classic feminism because of their decision to become mothers. I think it has been a serious mistake.
So I think it's the most anti-feminist speech I've ever heard. Very...
I totally agree.
That's it. I completely agree with what you said. Now then, there has been a backlash against feminism in which figures like Antonio, myself...
Also, but...
I'm just the moderator in this debate. Which you also have certain criticisms of? Overstart?
Yes, but well, because what I've seen is more about couple dynamics. I mean, I think you really hold on to the idea that the man has to lead and the woman by nature has to let herself be guided. I think that any adult who is in a happy marriage today knows that that's completely false.
In relationships, things usually go the woman's way.
Me, as a real estate consultant, when I show an apartment to a typical married couple, both him and her, the man may love it, but if the woman dislikes the apartment, it won't sell. The man can say whatever he wants. It's the same during renovations or when choosing wall or bedspread colors. And besides, there's something about men that I really like, which is that I think they're very practical. Because we tend to be really picky and we're always ready to argue over any silly thing. But you guys, it's like, look, why would I argue about something I don't even care about? How do I keep my wife happy? We buy the house, paint it, and send the kids to the school she wants. I mean, any mature man who's in a happy marriage knows that the key to a successful relationship is saying, yes, honey, whatever you want. So saying that men lead the relationship dynamic, I don't think that's true.
At no point have I said that men lead in relationships or that they mostly lead. Because indeed, the vast majority of men act from a place of scarcity. They don't have options. They're mediocre men. And obviously, they're not in their masculine role. They let the woman take the lead. And then that woman obviously doesn't respect them. This is very common, but I'm not saying it's the general rule. I agree with what you're saying about the general rule. Now then, the type of men you really want, the masculine men you desire the most, they're the ones who lead. And it turns out that over time, I mean, leadership is something that is inherently masculine and naturally masculine. There are many biological reasons for this. To begin with, women have selected men who are capable of obtaining resources. That is to say, who?
You yourselves.
Are demanding that we tend to want to be leaders. We haven't valued that in you. We've valued fertility, beauty, and youth more. You have to keep in mind that testosterone, among many other things, is directly related to competitiveness. We have 20 times more Marina. This means that men tend to be more competitive by nature. In fact...
Yeah, we compete a lot among ourselves, yes?
Yes, and in fact, you compete more among yourselves than we do among ourselves. Because female intersexual competition is much more pronounced than in males, because males can provide value in many different ways when it comes to the opposite sex. So, they don't have to have so many quarrels in that sense. That's why.
Quarrels, you mean among us?
That's right. What's wrong, isn't it? No. We compete with each other for status and to add value in the eyes of the opposite sex. But since we have many ways to add that value, the competition isn't as intense. However, among women, intersexual competition is much greater because your main asset in terms of value to the opposite sex is your fertility, your beauty, and your youth. And of course, every 5 meters, there's a younger girl. Each year, a new generation turns 18. And you're competing for girls who are all around you, girls who are younger, more beautiful, more fertile. So your competition there is tougher.
You're contradicting yourself. You say men have more testosterone and that's what drives competition, but then claim women are more competitive. That doesn't add up.
No, we're not discussing intrasexual competition. Let me finish. We're talking about leadership, and competitiveness is directly linked to it. So since we were kids, the games we played and everything tend to have a clear winner, sometimes even rankings, which we'll talk about a bit later. So it's true that in general we're more competitive, but not in terms of competing for the opposite sex. Just in general, we're more competitive, especially when it comes to status. What's going on? We tend to choose positions related to leadership more naturally, intrinsically, because as we've said, you demand it. You want a man who leads and has status and resources. Anthropologically, this has always been true throughout history. So, you yourselves, That's why it's natural for men to tend to be more of a leader. There are many more reasons as well. For example, a very interesting detail that I sometimes explain is that the areas of the brain responsible for motivation and reward are directly correlated with the pursuit of status and leadership. Those brain areas are more active in males than females. And this is not a coincidence. It's because you have been rewarding us for being leaders, for being competitive, and so on. That's how it is. Also, throughout human history, men have led and women have followed. This often occurs in relationships and society. That there are women who are leaders is great, but they are not leaders by nature, like men are. Men, from the beginning, for all these reasons, have led. And besides, you generally want to follow, especially the more feminine women.
What do you mean by saying we want to follow?
That you like to relax, to get into your feminine energy, and to take the passive role of following the leadership of the man you respect and admire.
Yes.
You could say, like the famous one that's becoming quite popular in women's circles, the famous one. I want a man who solves things. That's what people are looking for, right?
Yes, but I think we're mixing up concepts. I mean, just because a man is decisive doesn't mean he's 100% a leader. I mean, being decisive is one thing and leading is another. Because in fact, there are people who lead and are not decisive at all because they lead poorly. Because they lead by force, not respect. So, Lex, I think you're mixing up some concepts there that I don't quite understand very well.
Marina, throughout...
The debate is with him.
If you speak
in plural, I'm going to have to intervene.
Don't get involved, believe me.
It wouldn't be fair.
Marina, would it be fair to say that throughout human civilization, from the very beginning, men have tended to lead in all aspects of society?
Yes, well...
That's right. Men are natural leaders for the biological reasons I've mentioned. Can women also be leaders? Yes, but that doesn't mean that being a leader is something intrinsic to women. So leadership is seen as more masculine. It's considered a trait more associated with men than women. And now, if you want, Marina, we can discuss women who have become somewhat more masculine to become leaders, and they have every right to do so. Women are also effective leaders, but their leadership style differs from men's.
The way.
There are positives and negatives for both, and the same applies to men. I mean, women can be good leaders too, but that doesn't mean it's something intrinsic to their nature to be one.
But what are you basing that on to say that? On everything that you...
Just explained, but...
You don't know if a woman who is a leader also has more activated circuits, dopamine, which are the reward circuits, which have nothing to do with testosterone. By the way, I mean, you can't know that.
But Marina, I already explained that generally.
You can assume that just because a woman is a leader, it's because she's more masculine. And besides, that argument falls apart in every way. There are so many women who are great leaders, who are very feminine, and who have their children and their families.
False why?
It has nothing to do with it. False.
And I'm going to explain it to you now, which was the part I was dying to get to. As we've discussed, leadership is inherently masculine, and women who lead tend to become more masculine. Why does this happen? And don't you immediately switch off that energy at home? No, in fact, I notice a masculine energy in you. And surely, what do you do for a living?
I'm a real estate consultant.
I studied
pharmacy, but right now I'm a real estate consultant and wanting to move up.
Partner, financially?
Yes, of course. Right.
Well, it's noticeable. Is a certain masculinization noticeable in you in this sense? But, I mean, earning my own money and...
Managing my assets means being masculine.
Climbing the corporate ladder is synonymous with having to develop certain characteristics that are masculine. Let me explain. Femininity and masculinity aren't social constructs, despite what feminism claims. They are a series of biological characteristics that men share with each other. That's why it's called masculinity. And most women share with each other. There are many gray areas here. I'm not saying it's one way or another, or that you shouldn't be leaders. I never say that. What I'm saying is the reality. To be a leader, you need to be dominant, assertive, decisive. You need to impose a certain authority, and all those are masculine traits.
Women do not exercise authority.
Who educates
the children?
From...
Traditionally, the mother usually...
In raising children, plays a more important role in the child's early years. Where she gives that maternal love, that affection, where she nurtures them, and she can also motivate them and can impose a certain authority. But really, the role of authority, of preparing them for life, of being tougher with the children, is usually held by the man. Especially if he takes on the masculine role. Maybe it's different for you, since couples vary. Or in the Lord's village, there's a bit of everything, but in general, that's how it usually is. The father is usually tougher. He tends to prepare him in a certain way for the harsh realities of the world. And generally, a father tends to impose more authority than a mother. In general, are there mothers who do it? Yes, but they're a bit more masculine. That's generally how it is. If you disagree, that's different.
I mean,
The role of representing more authority would belong to the father.
give me a...
Why don't you agree with what Antonio just said?
It's just that I think what you're saying isn't representative of today's Western society. I'm sorry, that's not the case right now. I think you're basing it on things that might have happened in the Victorian era, but nowadays,
That's not the case.
That men are the ones who have 100% of the authority in front of the children, not at all.
Also, I'm not sure if you know, but many women are currently having children on their own, among other things, because we are in a society where it's very complicated to find men who are willing to take on responsibilities. Some women are following that path because I'm going...
To give you a point in your favor, because of feminism and this modern society we're living in, men are becoming less masculine, and that's an improvement. Mothers tend to be more represented in this role, even more authoritarian, even the most submissive man. But it has never been like that throughout history. It has never been like that. And in fact, I would dare to say that today, no matter how much modernity and feminism there is, in general, fathers represent a greater authority towards children than mothers do, on average, in general.
I think feminism is part of the reason you mentioned, but I really believe the reason is that we live in a deeply infantilized society. Feminism has contributed to that infantilization of adults, and that's why we hear such ridiculous speeches so often. It's just that I want to do whatever I want because I don't know what, because I don't want to have children, because I want to travel. I mean, everything
That kind
of nonsense comes from a deeply childish society.
then,
Woke feminism has been part of that infantilization.
but not.
It has. It's not the only factor.
I want to step in, and I know this isn't completely fair to you. But here's a devastating fact that undermines your view. I won't use it as a gotcha or as
A counter-argument.
But there are several studies that show that single parents raise their children much better. Children who come from single father families have much better outcomes in absolutely every metric than those who come from single mother families.
Did you steal it from me there?
I'm not trying to make it a competition or compare who raises better, but this...
Talking about
That inside the home, women raise the children. And it's true even today. Women alone are raising a lot of kids. We live in a society in which a large percentage of men are raised only by women, though I might be a bit off on the exact number. 80% of preschool and elementary school teachers are women.
The
The vast majority of young people don't have a father figure. So women are the ones in charge of educating this society. And what did you just say earlier? Our society is more infantilized than ever. Extremely emotional children, young people who are not prepared to face frustration, young people who have no control over their emotions. And I believe that this, in large part, is due to the lack of male authority, which feminism has indeed taken care to eradicate from the home.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm telling you. I do believe that feminism is part of that problem, but I think there are more factors.
What are those factors for you, Marina?
That's where we would get into politics.
It's okay, can we?
Generally, I think woke movements continuously demand more rights. There comes a point when sometimes I say, but how many rights are there? Because it's all the time. Rights all the time. What I want, all the time. Because what I want is to do this, and if someone doesn't let me, I don't know what. I mean, like taking away people's responsibility for their own actions and their own decisions. I think it's something that's not just about feminism. Partly, yes, but it comes from all this, you know, postmodern politics.
I mean, when you talk about taking away people's responsibility for their own paths, for their own decisions, and that's where an external factor called the state comes in.
Exactly. No, like ill. The state solves it for you. Like,
You're mentally retarded. You have to give me half of what you earn because you can't make your own private pension. Exactly.
you can pay for.
Your own insurance. You can't do anything because, damn,
I'm going to do it better.
literally. So these are policies of
Of indoctrination.
left wing. Can we tell the truth?
There we go.
We're going to get into that now too.
They are postmodern left policies. To me, a left-wing policy means demanding class struggle.
And there you would agree more. I mean, it's just to get a sense of where you stand, right?
I don't anymore. I respect the classic left, support class struggle, and defend workers' rights. Nowadays, I don't feel so aligned with many of the points they defend, mainly regarding wealth distribution, but I still respect it. I think what has been done is to take the most totalitarian and social engineering parts of the left and use them in favor of big corporations. To create a totalitarian state that dictates your behavior at all times?
Yes, what you have to eat, who you have to...
But it's not the classic left, since it's not seeking that. It's shifted from class struggle to conflicts among minorities, groups, and the oppressed. So when you...
And just one question, sorry, Antonio, it's just that I'm really interested in her opinion. When does that change happen? When does the left decide, hey, we have to change the narrative. The class narrative doesn't work for us anymore because it just doesn't work.
I believe it was after the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union dissolved. From then on, when the danger...
A left.
Really vanishes globally, leaving only Cuba and North Korea as strongholds. But they're small countries with little potential. When that great enemy of the West disappears, I think that's when the change happens. And when there are very intelligent people, so to speak, who say, let's take advantage. This, which has also served to have so many people as part of a flock where no one could speak out, let's create arguments and fights among them to separate people from each other. Divide and conquer. Should we create partial conflicts so that in the end they become weaker?
Yes, and so they stop identifying what the real problem is, which is those at the top.
Because what they do
Is that now the problem is heterosexual people who are cisgender men, straight, and who are white. So they went from taking the enemy,
being
them, to try to dodge responsibility and shift the enemy to other things. So that we, exactly, as you said, so we fight each other.
sorry, to some it just doesn't make sense for them to try to make women in Western society turn against men in the same society. It's a huge mistake and makes no sense. We are where we are.
Thanks to...
Because we are with men who are open-minded and supportive. And I will always say, I am not a feminist because I criticize men, or because I attack them, or because I want to live in a world without men. Never. I don't want a world without men. I value having men around me, as I've always had great men in my life. I've had men who helped me study, taught me, lifted me up when needed, and encouraged me. I've had great friends and family, but I've also met some jerks, just like in life.
Everything.
Just like I've come across women who were
Even worse.
than poison.
Marina. The point is that I want us to discuss this topic and for both of you to talk and give me your opinion about it is that confrontation between men and women. At the end of the day, don't you think it's provoked? No.
It's intentional. I believe it's provoked. I mean, the fact that we're constantly seeing in men, plus it's like you said before, the white heterosexual man, as you mentioned. Let's see, if I have to judge people by skin color, that's just what was missing.
It's just that the
Men
are a greater danger. And that's what I want to talk to you about now. That's why, because I think you disagree with my idea that in general, women tend to be more easily manipulated because they are more gregarious. But men pose a danger because men tend to challenge authority more. So exactly as he says, this is social engineering.
a programming.
Psychological programming on a large scale, a very large scale, that dates back to 1960. I mean, feminism is basically a product of the CIA, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Soros, the United Nations, and a number of globalist entities. The Kissinger Report, which they designed many years ago. It's a long-planned social engineering project. Okay, I understand.
So, your definition of feminism excludes women who sought the right to vote. I can't find the word. Well, suffragists, the suffragists from the early 20th century, no.
No. This is more like the 1960s, maybe even earlier. Yes. Even earlier, for sure. How about that? But no,
Yes, I include them.
Yes, but let me tell you. The thing is, if these multi-billionaire men hadn't financed feminism, you wouldn't even know about it. There wouldn't be feminist marches, there wouldn't be benches, there wouldn't be banners, there wouldn't be the feminist symbol, there wouldn't be absolutely anything. Because all of this is a social engineering project that they have built for many years. And if we go back to suffragism, the suffragettes were crazy. The suffragettes were really bad people. And on top of that, they were very snobbish.
Did you have coffee with all of them or what?
No.
Because I have
Done?
a revisionism, very...
Yes, most of them. Well, what do you think? 450 attacks in 6 months were carried out by the suffragists. 450 attacks in 6 months. Is that what a good person does? Is being good like Emily Parkinson or Parkinson? Her name's Emily, the one with white feathers, right? She ran a women's association. What did they do? They went around the streets putting white feathers on men to ridicule them, and they sent them off with that feather, which was a reason for people to laugh at them. They sent thousands of men to die in the war without ever volunteering themselves. You seem a little lost.
It's not that. I just don't get how a group of women from
The 20th century sent thousands to die without political power. Well, I'm...
Studied it. Did you study it, Marina? Well,
Yes, but the pins...
Emily's white feathers. Did you study it?
But when? At the beginning of the 20th century, when women had zero political representation in 1913.
1914. How?
Is it possible that they were able to do something like that? Because they were...
Bourgeois. Because they were bourgeois, and
They made a mess, and...
that's what I'm saying. Plus, it's sexist and opposes the feminist mindset. That thing about taking and ridiculing men and sending thousands and thousands of them to end their lives because you send them to war and on top of that you ridicule them. How did they send the...
Feminists, this too.
Is a-
A genuine question that I have, Antonio. How did Emily's white feathers send men directly to war? If you could elaborate on that point, because I really want the audience to have it clear, and I myself would also like to have it clear. What do you mean? Please elaborate on that point, because I don't.
Emily had an association or an organization of women, right? Did they have specific social power? And what they did was go through the streets, all of them putting white feathers on the men.
And
So if you check, this means thousands of men died just for wearing the little white feather.
I don't understand.
Yes.
How?
How? Which one was it? Which one?
What mechanism was used for those men?
Those men weren't in uniform, so when they saw them in civilian clothes, men who initially weren't going to war were given white feathers to pressure them into enlisting.
Let's see, here.
There's something I'm not explaining well. Sorry to put it this way.
But-
Was there a war at that time?
No, well, I'm not an expert in this either, but let's see. So how...
Did they send the men to war? How did they do it? I don't understand.
No, this is simple. By giving them the white feather, and every man who received it, it was like a sign of...
Shame for not being at war.
Exactly, and it's like society pressured him to have to go.
Do you mean in the context of the First World War?
I'm talking about around 1915, around that time. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, right. Men were recruited by the system, correct? Emily, I don't think she put a feather anywhere.
Well, the truth is, you go and look it up, really, because I actually checked it, and this is a historical fact. It's not...
It remained. No?
It's odd you question it if you haven't looked it up. I checked, and it's a fact. It wasn't clear they were doing that or responsible, Antonio.
It wasn't clear how they were saying it.
It wasn't clear. Through humiliation,
Exactly. And
society agreed men should get the white feather.
was a sign that those men who didn't go to war and these men, out of shame in the eyes of society, decided to enlist and go to war. That's the point being made.
Well, were they forced? I don't
know much. I'll look into it later when I leave here. I'll go home and look it up.
Me too, because I'm interested in history, and honestly, I hadn't heard about it. No, it's very interesting for...
You to see that all this history...
Yes, let's see. You can't... I mean, saying the entire suffragist movement is defined by that, yes, just because of one isolated act by a specific person. You can't claim the entire suffragist movement is guilty of something like that, and that everything was about that. What the suffragist movement started with was asking for the vote for women, because women couldn't vote.
But the thing is...
Was that the beginning?
But one...
Question.
I'm a little lost.
I want to ask a question here. What I can talk about is the issue of equality of political rights, equality of rights.
Legal rights, great.
But obligations are never discussed. That's why
Totally agree.
I find it a bit curious. This opinion is controversial. Maybe I'll be censored. The right to vote wasn't about equality.
And what did it have to do with...
Privileges without obligations. Equality can't be one-sided for privileges, but obligations are unrelated. Universal male suffrage occurred because men faced the consequences of their votes. Even today, I question whether feminists, if suffragettes had been given the option and it was put on the table, would have agreed. We're going to give you the same rights, but you're also going to have the same obligations. In the wartime context of the early 20th century, I assure you that
Today it's the same.
90% would have backed out. And I'm telling you, even today, if Spain were on the brink of a conflict, and if many women who call themselves feminists were given the option of the front line, but do you keep your right to vote, or do you give up your right to vote and exempt yourself from war?
Do you give it up?
Almost all of them give it up.
Well, let's see. But the thing is, you're taking the situation. I mean, you're going to a very extreme situation where your life is at risk.
Marina.
For you, I mean, for men and for women, Marina, making someone choose JLF is
A decision.
A bit complicated.
That's what men did.
And what were you saying about the right to vote? Early 20th century, it's really not that simple. The theorists who were against women's right to vote, what they said was that women, well, we were seen as hysterical, unable to decide for ourselves and easily swayed by others. And since we were so easily influenced, we shouldn't be allowed to vote because, in fact, reason itself takes sides.
Takes sides. Let's go point by point.
Point by point, please. Just a moment. Just a moment. Come on. Point by point.
It's to make a historical note so that people remember things that have happened in this very country. The Socialist Party of Indalecio Prieto and Largo Caballero called Clara Campoamor a liberal when she supported women's rights. They claimed women voting would help the right wing win, as they'd be swayed by the clergy.
And by their husbands.
Well, they said it was more because of the church, but they also said because of their husbands, well, that they were going to be influenced, right?
I believe women are just as capable as men to make our own decisions. We need to stop letting ourselves
Be fooled by nonsense.
and stop saying, I just go along with it. Adults should take responsibility for their own decisions.
If your decision is final, I'll leave you, Antonio. Leads you to the opposite sex. To suffer the consequences of a war that you yourself are not going to suffer, that's where it's not fair.
We all suffer from the war, even if I don't. One moment. Even if they don't send me to the front, I don't want my boyfriend to go to the front, or my cousins, or anyone in my family. Women suffer from war too. No woman in her right mind wants the man beside her sent to the front.
Marina, let's go in order for a moment. You say that the suffragists were demanding universal suffrage, right?
Yes, but
That's not true. If you were even a little informed, you wouldn't say that. Because they were against all women being allowed to vote. Did you know that? Marina?
no.
Of course, that's why I have this grudge, and with good reason, against those damn suffragettes and all the feminists. Also, I oppose the so-called second wave, which I believe is actually the first from 1960. Because it's all fraud after fraud and privilege after privilege. And besides, well, they were terrorists, that's to begin with. So the suffragettes didn't advocate or ask for all women to vote? That's false. They only wanted bourgeois women to vote. Arthur Henderson from the Labour Party secured universal suffrage for women, not just the census-based suffrage that the suffragettes sought. Did you know that?
Yes, they don't have.
Nothing to do with the suffragists, so the suffragists didn't want all women to vote? False. A person unrelated to suffragism or feminism achieved it. Marina.
Come on, let's see. You can't extrapolate the values of today's society with the values of Victorian society, where there was a clear difference between classes. Clearly, bourgeois women didn't care if their lower classes could vote.
Yeah,
Of course they didn't care, since they were bourgeois.
of course, they wanted...
To vote for women of their social class?
Yeah, well, so, like, those who weren't suffragists?
They wanted it for
Everyone.
But are you extrapolating current values to early 20th century Europe?
No, I'm arguing that Arthur Henderson did want everyone to vote. And the suffragists, who were the ones who wanted it, because women didn't care at all, because...
They only wanted it for themselves because they were classist. That's it.
Yes, unlike the Labour Party, which wanted everyone to vote. So suffragism didn't achieve universal suffrage. They only sought the censitary vote.
Okay.
Important. I want...
To bring up a topic here. Earlier, you mentioned claims that women were impressionable, hysterical, and might vote for a man just because he was handsome or because the clergy told them to. Her husband would influence her. You say that's not the case, and you argue that, in a certain sense, it is. I'll turn it over to Marina. Why do you think that's not true?
I mean, that women...
Women have the ability to discern, generally speaking. Please, I want the audience to understand that we're not talking here
About specific cases?
only in specific cases, since I know very capable, intelligent girls.
And so on.
But then I see Charo Sorio saying Pedro Sanchez is very handsome. And I wonder if those people were actually right. In Spain and even the United States, many presidents owe their elections to women voters, often because they were handsome.
We're speaking in general, that's right.
I mean, this hasn't just happened in one country, you know? La Guapura adds up, the vote adds up.
Many.
Points in the
Women's vote.
to be handsome, be careful with that topic.
And speaking well and everything and the affection. There's a...
Something you said earlier interests me. Every right carries an implicit obligation. The right to life gives you the obligation to respect the lives of others. The right to freedom gives you the obligation to respect the freedom of others. The right to vote gives you the obligation to inform yourself about what you are voting for. I believe that's it. I mean, one of the main reasons why our democracy doesn't work nowadays is because people have no damn idea what they're voting for. So, our survey in
The street.
most people don't know what the left or right is and can't name economic policies. And on top of that, with the mess of postmodern ideas we have right now, being on the left is something very different from what it used to be. The economic proposal is even worse. So, is there stupidity both in men and women? Following the herd exists both in men and women. Some men and women are very critical, while others, especially some men, just follow others when voting without knowing why. Neighbor, yes, but that's influenced by what they've heard at home.
General tendency. Marina, aren't we more critical? I can explain if you want.
No, Marina.
Tell me who mostly votes for progressive policies. Marina, tell me who mostly votes. Let everyone in by opening doors. Boycotting themselves, their safety, and their sexual freedom. Marina, no, please. I'm asking you to let me elaborate a bit now because I want to prove my point. Who? Marina, they usually support feminist, socialist, and communist policies. Who? Tell me. I'm telling you it's women, because women. Just a third of women support more conservative and right-wing policies. That's the reality. Those are the facts, Marina, just a third. Wait, let me finish, please. Then you can respond. So what happens if you check the charts? Current? Also women. Previously, women voted for the right. They adapt to whatever is fashionable. When the right was mainstream, all women, the majority of women, voted for the right. But...
Now, wait. Let me finish, please. What era are you talking about? Let me finish.
Let me finish, but no.
Let's keep it brief. She deserves a chance to respond too.
No, of course, but I want to elaborate. Exactly. Now you vote mainly on the left. What happens? If you check the graphs, men are increasingly voting right, but do you see that graph trending this way? Do you see the graph? Women are moving dramatically to the left. I mean, it's very... Women vote much more dramatically to the left than men do to the right. It's absolutely vertical right now. So here's the pattern. Women mostly vote for those kinds of policies. If women, imagine a hypothetical scenario where you didn't vote.
No.
The current left wouldn't have won. Woke, which you dislike so much, is because of you.
The current left hasn't really won either because it's mostly you women who vote for this.
So yes, there is a trend. Yes, there is data that confirms this.
But then aren't you already being biased? Where everyone who votes for the left is someone who's influenced and everyone who votes for the right is someone with critical thinking. No, I think it's a bit unfair to say that.
No, and I'll explain it to you.
And I'm not defending the left. Stop it.
Finish. Yes.
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate a little? How did he make it fair?
It's just, I mean, there have been so many things, but okay, when you say women used to vote for the right, when was that? Which time period do you mean?
In the times when the right was mainstream, it was more popular and had the majority. The dominant discourse was more about voting for the right. In those times,
The fact that women, if what you're saying were true, well, I mean, it's not entirely true, but okay. There is a majority of women who vote for the postmodern left. Women are half of the population. Women voting for the postmodern left doesn't guarantee victory. Men's votes are needed too. And among those men, there are also many who don't have a critical point of view and have no clue what they're voting for. There are a lot of allies within the postmodern left movements. I've come across quite a few. So, allies.
Betonidas? No.
Is it only based on women's votes? No. Because if all men voted for the right, every single one, and all women voted for the left, the result would be 50-50, and it isn't.
of course, the situation is just as I told you. Just a third of women vote for more conservative policies. That's reality. Most of you are?
A third of women have a critical view, even though some vote for policies that harm them.
But I never said that all of them are sheep. I never said that at any point. And now can I just elaborate a little bit? Let's try.
Not to elaborate too much so the debate can flow. I mean, I already told you before, try make your point in 1 to 1.5 minutes.
And then,
I ask the same of you, though you are speaking less.
so I do it in batches. Because there are many biological reasons that make women tend to go more with what the majority of the group thinks. As I mentioned before, lower testosterone levels in everyone, including men, they confront and challenge authority less. That, to begin with, means they're less brave, because bravery is also a masculine trait, since it takes bravery to confront authority. Different. Several psychology studies show that women, on average, tend to display greater social conformity than men. I'm not making this up, it's a fact. Okay, that's how it is. And
I'm going to tell you.
has it gone well for you? I mean, do you run away many times? Because when you leave the group, you risk criticism, you risk social isolation, you risk losing support.
100%. I agree with you on that. Okay.
So has it been better for women on an evolutionary level? Prioritizing acceptance. Okay, that's why you tend to align yourselves with the thinking of most people, the dominant discourse. And this has evolutionary reasons that make you have more protection. You have more benefits. If you use this strategy and behave this way, okay, you will reproduce more and you will survive more. This is a fact, okay? And like I said, there are many studies in psychology that show it, that you tend to have greater social conformity. That's the real truth, but
How can you claim we have more social conformity and then say that the feminists of the 60s were terrorists? Are you contradicting yourself? If there was a group of women who were able to be terrorists, as you say, which I think is how many women...
are terrorists? How many male terrorists are there? Or have there been throughout history?
Because I haven't said that.
You women never rebel. I'm not saying you're all like cattle.
We rebel a lot, don't we?
No, yes, and besides, there's a very important factor here. I have to...
Sorry to interrupt, but Antonio, I don't know why you haven't told him this important factor. No one. At least I defend that those women, from the beginning, were strongly funded by the interests of very, very, very powerful people. We can never ignore the factor of funding and who is behind those social movements. Antonio Rockefeller mentioned them, yes, John Pierpont Morgan, a lot of people, well, the masters of the world, the ones who made themselves right in those decades. Key, right in those decades, the Federal Reserve was created, right in those times. They agreed it was a great idea. Let's act so everyone pays taxes.
Let's go!
To remove children from the women, raising them with more Christian and conservative values. Now it will be the state that we will gradually make more secular. We are going to uproot values. We are going to uproot everything. So it wasn't because they were women.
Terrorists? In some cabins? In the mountains?
There wasn't much money or power behind it. I want to be clear about that. Yes.
And there still isn't.
Leadership
Of men?
multi-billionaires? Yes.
Yes. And there still are. We've discussed this from the start about what we're experiencing now. The postmodern era we're living in is the result of social engineering, where human behavior and reactions to stimuli have been thoroughly studied. If this happens, the reaction will be this. Going back to what we were talking about, the behavior of people in groups has been studied by psychology. There is no difference between men and women. Cults use group psychology to ensure everyone acts together and no one rebels, treating women and men the same. Men, when they are in a group, also let themselves be carried away by the majority behavior of the group. That women are more sociable with each other? Of course. Now, I think that group behavior, which has been widely studied by psychology, I believe a key difference between women and men is...
Told you, psychology says you show more social conformity in...
What?
You may doubt it, but that doesn't change reality. Let me explain. Man, one moment...
You're contradicting yourself again. If you're saying that postmodern movements, which are considered anti-establishment and are going to destroy all traditional values in our society, are they mainly led by women?
I'll explain it to you, because that's not revolutionary. That's just following the herd, because that's the mainstream narrative.
I know, but they think they are.
They believe they are, but it's what everyone supports, as I just explained. Women often align with these ideas of the majority, the ideas that everyone has, and in this case, that's not being revolutionary, that's you. Is giving an anti-feminism speech revolutionary? And as a woman, is that a greater risk? And it's even rarer to see a woman who steps out and leans toward an anti-feminist stance than a man. Men challenge authority more because testosterone drives many behaviors, including this one. And I'm going to explain the last thing to you because I think it's very important.
I don't think testosterone is related to challenging authority. Absolutely not.
And I'm going to explain.
On a biological level, I don't see the connection.
Men with Esperanza.
Very quickly to biological, the
Men, along with most primate species, okay? They have organized themselves. They have always been organizing themselves hierarchically. Women have not...
Please?
Listen to me, Marina, but...
That women also...
I'll finish now, but let me make my point. Women? No. Women. You don't understand hierarchies. Women don't operate based on hierarchies, and I don't know why you're jealous. Because it's not a bad thing. In fact, it's feminine not to be biologically wired to understand hierarchies. Women work through cooperation rather than hierarchies, which has nothing to do with a hierarchy. And if you were a bit more informed, would you know this? That's why, let me explain, girls. Marina?
Please let me finish, please.
That's why the girls...
Jay?
Let me finish. That's why actually most girls, when they play at school and they're little, tend not to play games where there's clearly a winner. Unlike boys, they play house, care for things, play with dolls, and tell stories, while boys are already preparing and learning. Hierarchies. Who's best, worst, average, or better? They create ranks through their actions. And you, since you prioritize acceptance and cohesion, you operate in a cooperative, horizontal way that has nothing to do with hierarchy. There are women who have a sense of hierarchy and can come to understand it. Yes, I'm not saying there aren't, Marina. Don't be offended. We're
talking about the
general case.
Let her talk. Antonio.
Let her talk.
I don't know what your childhood experience was like, but I'm sorry, it doesn't match mine. I grew up as a girl in the 90s, and what you're saying doesn't match my experience or that of many girls. Marina.
For God's sake.
And women are often group-oriented, but there's always a leader in the group. I've been through that, like many other women. There's always one who stands out above the rest, and she's the one who makes the decisions, and everyone else, like little sheep, follows her. But there is a leadership, there is a hierarchy.
Nobody denies that. The point is that it's not at the same hierarchical level as women have.
Well,
You all seem more direct with each other. Go.
to a playground and describe what you see. If
I was in a playground, well,
that's it, the girls in the corners talking about their gossip,
and the
guys just goofing off and kicking balls. That's the reality, you know? Because testosterone makes a fundamental difference in how men are and how women are.
Of course, and it sets the trend for...
Women are often seen as less agreeable, a feminine trait.
The men?
Tend to be the opposite. Men tend to be less agreeable. Women tend to be more agreeable.
More submissive?
The
Men less accommodating? With whom?
I've already explained it to you with authority. If they see an unjust cause or suddenly want to question it, saying, no, look, I see an authority there. But wait, how is this? They tend to question authority more. And I've explained this to you, mentioning biological reasons and psychological support as well.
Are you drawing a parallel between men having higher testosterone levels and certain behaviors? Because I'm sorry, I just don't see the connection. I've studied testosterone and its effects on men's bodies. Can I accept that some behaviors are related to testosterone according to ablative psychology? Sorry, but I don't see the connection in what you're saying. Women among ourselves. We compete a lot. We have leadership. We make life impossible for each other when we don't like someone, right?
It's the measure of...
There's a study. Look, a study exists. It just gave a woman something to smell. A woman's clothing during her fertile years. At that moment, she was ovulating, and it was observed that when he smelled the pheromones released by the clothing of that ovulating woman, his testosterone levels increased. Women compete with each other, and also...
Nobody denies it anymore.
But we also have that side. Often, if you avoid
conflict as much as possible until...
It's unavoidable. We avoid physical conflict, which is different. We avoid physical conflict. No.
And psychological too. No, the conflict.
Psychological. Do you think women avoid conflict? How many women do you interact with?
There?
That women avoid psychological conflict?
To a certain extent, until the water overflows from the glass. Yes, Tiriri, women...
Women have a capacity for psychological conflict, for manipulation, and for a psychological abuse. Also, you get really worked up over men. What happens? That men tend more towards...
violence, because...
As evolutionary psychology says, women tend to be less physically violent because subconsciously we don't want to put our reproductive system at risk. If we run the risk of having become pregnant and we behave violently in a physical way, we are putting the survival of our fetus at risk.
Facts thing.
Which happens to us men, of course.
That's right, but
Women, that's why.
you tend to...
We use psychology to reduce risks.
Yes, I'm not saying no. In fact, we'll talk about it in the part where you also disagree a little, which is the topic that I believe women are much more emotional than men, and there are many reasons for that, and we're going to talk about that part too. Yes, I agree with you on that. But that doesn't mean that men don't have a tendency to organize themselves more hierarchically than women.
Going back to the topic, we haven't reached a concrete point regarding who is more easily manipulated. Do you believe Antonio's claim that women are easier to manipulate? It's not true.
I believe that manipulating a person comes from a lack of principles, a lack of education, from that person not having been formed and not having developed their own way of thinking. You don't think this happens only to women? It affects men too, right?
So you're not disagreeing with the statement that women are more easily manipulated?
I think you're confusing how women socialize with thinking we're superior. You don't.
Get involved or I will have to...
Sorry.
I think Antonio is mixing up women's social behavior with whether or not we are more easily manipulated. And I'll say it again, I think a person's susceptibility to manipulation depends on their lack of critical thinking. That's something you work on, something you develop and shape over time.
Marina, are men more submissive than women on average? And have they been historically? Answer, please.
Well, historically, I don't know, but nowadays it seems to me that yes, no.
Marina, no. Do you think that...
Today, are men more submissive to women? Why? Explain. I'm interested in your point.
I'm mostly talking about relationship dynamics, similar to what I explained earlier. I think men today would rather keep the peace than argue with their partners. I just want to say I can't.
Don't intervene so much. It's unfair for Antonio and me to chase you. But have you made a correlation of power dynamics within heterosexual couples? Mentioning the house and the decoration, what are they?
That men...
We surrender willingly because...
We usually don't care.
That is to say...
I mean, no.
It's not a do-or-die decision generally when...
A man
can afford several houses and such. I tell you, hey, I'm going to live in Paris, right? And the woman says, no, I'm not going to live in Paris. They say, we're not going to live in Paris. Key decisions about where to move are usually made by the man. The man cares less about the specific house or the environment.
Buying a house is a major decision.
We don't really care about the house since she'll be living there. These days, being able to buy a house usually means you have high purchasing power. With the way things are in Spain, we don't care about the shower screen. We don't care about the color of the bathroom. We just don't care, you know?
The living room table you choose doesn't matter. No, do you prefer letting your wife do what she wants to make her happy? That doesn't mean she's in charge.
A good leader knows when to give in.
Power, but do you think that within a couple there has to be a leadership dynamic?
Are you the ones demanding someone superior?
I've already.
Explain that throughout history, you've sought men who can gain status, but not vice versa, so by default, we lead.
If you want someone superior, earning as much or more, taller, stronger, more charismatic, and more intelligent.
Wait, let me finish my point.
How are you going to be the leader when he's the superior one? How can an inferior
Be the leader? Are you looking for...
What he said, Marina, no.
But why what?
Are you looking for...
Wait, no one believes that. But why do you need to lead? A romantic relationship, which is an equal relationship, a romantic relationship, a job where someone leads
certain things? No, sorry, a team.
Let's see. A romantic relationship is teamwork. It's a relationship where there is absolute coordination. So one doesn't have to be above the other.
Marina is the dominant energy in most aspects of the relationship. Most women who are in their feminine role want the man to lead them. That's the only reality. The thing is, you're my aunt. Paka smokes too.
Okay, so?
You don't fit into that mold. But feminine women look to relax. And they really are owners and leaders of their things, of their chores, of the things they control. But they generally want the man to lead because they want a man who is in almost every way, in almost every metric, superior to them. So, how is that man who is superior to her in every metric not going to be the leader? How could the man not be the leader? How can she be the leader? That makes no sense.
Look, that's what I'm telling you. It all comes down to the fact that you and I have different concepts of what a romantic relationship is. That's what a romantic relationship is. I don't think anyone has to lead over the other. But a car doesn't have two steering wheels?
A boat doesn't have two captains, and there's always one who pulls more than the other in certain aspects. And when it comes to leading, to steering the ship. In relationships too, even in my relationship with him, for example, me talking to him, in any interaction, there's one person who dominates the interaction by a higher percentage. And the same thing happens in relationships. And women, you look for a dominant, assertive, competent man, someone with leadership, someone who's better than you. You look for a superior. Do you get it? You live in an egalitarian fantasy, claiming not to be a feminist, but you really are. But it's inevitable. I don't blame you for
Because you have
been raised in feminism. You've been raised in the lie of equality when we are not equal, and you are the first ones to demand not a superior and not an equal. Yes.
If that's true, would it reproduce? I think only 1% of men.
No.
Few men have high economic status or leadership roles in their professions, but
Damn, sorry. It's hard for me not to intervene, but at the end of the day, historically, it's been like this. Only 40% of men have reproduced.
Reproduced? Just 40%, Maria?
Just so you know. Really, and 80% of women, on the other hand, it's double. There is a trend where many women have had children with the same man.
No, the majority.
of them
Women.
reproduce with the same one.
Generally. I mean, you see, there's a false perception that the dynamics are equitable. And honestly, maybe I wouldn't say it the way Antonio does. But it's still true that, in general, women are the ones who seek it. Ideally, you want your guy to be taller than you.
Well, look, it's just that I'm very tall, so, okay?
Yes, or
I mean, for me, it's complicated for him to be a good guy, not really.
it's that complicated. You're 5'9", you're not 6'0" either.
There aren't that many guys that tall either.
Maybe. Do you want him taller?
I don't care much, but I don't want him too short.
Well, but
If he's the same height as me, I don't mind, okay?
would you like him to make money? That he makes more than...
Do you want him at the same socioeconomic level?
He's already at the same level. Perfect. Do you want him stronger?
Yes, of course, but let's see. But then,
We're talking about practically in every aspect and attributes of a human being, practically in all of them. You're looking for someone superior, with superior attributes. In fact, it's also proven that women tend to fall in love with men who have a higher intelligence quotient, even higher than theirs. So, do you want
a man who is superior in almost everything, with intelligence quotient coefficient.
intellectual coefficient? Sorry, I watch a lot of English content and pick up intelligence quotient. No, SST. You're basically looking for a man who's superior in almost every measurable attribute and human characteristic. But you want equal treatment in a relationship? Make it make sense.
Do you fall in love because you admire someone? Do you want to? Do you want to admire that man but
It's just that men also have to admire women because you want to learn.
It is.
I want you to answer a question for me. In a romantic relationship, there has to be an element of admiration. You have to admire the person you go to bed with every day. Because if not, yes,
It's yes.
there's no admiration.
I agree, but that's not the admiration we're discussing. But Marina?
I mean, I'm gonna do it with no intention of debating. But a man's admiration for a woman isn't one-sided. Admiration varies. One man may admire your beauty, another how you treat him or your sweetness. On the other hand, generally men are not admired just for how handsome they are. A handsome man who's indecisive, a crybaby, and not strong.
But let's see, I think you're confusing virility with masculinity. And I agree that women do like masculine men. And besides, you just have to look at it in our daily lives. I mean, men who are more masculine, who have more masculine features, traits we all link to masculinity. Are you just reinforcing the point? That doesn't mean we like to be bossed around. I mean, one thing has nothing to do with the other, but who said anything about bossing around? The man has to be the one who makes all the decisions and the woman has to just go along like she's a sheep. Well, excuse me, that's what I understood from you. You're
Acting like a textbook feminist.
That's how I understood you. Maybe you didn't explain clearly.
Look, Marina.
You always understand that, but
What do you mean? I mean, when someone says that men generally and women, I mean, I want you to understand that this speech is not only focused on the benefit of men. No, men have to be leaders. Does that mean you're going to boss me around? We mean that I think it's also a speech that benefits women because women feel more comfortable when the man is the leader in their relationship and they can disconnect that cautious energy, that problem-solving energy, that energy of resolving things, and they give in that energy to their man. And women benefit greatly from having masculine and leading men in society. I think nobody doubts that, but you always focus it on not wanting to be in charge. Him? He is a
Hungry. Me too, Marina.
I'm also talking about relationship dynamics.
Of course, and so am I. It's not about enslaving you.
Well, that's where I disagree. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't agree with a majority of women, and now a man who questions them. No, that's enough.
Being 2 against 1, and it's not fair.
That's exactly it. What is it that you don't...
Do you understand? How would you explain it? I'm not there. What don't you agree with, Marina?
That women naturally look for a man. That someone looks after us.
Well,
I mean, like someone to guide us, to manage the accounts, to solve everything. I mean, like someone to make decisions for us.
But the thing is, you are very masculine, Marina.
It's not just me. Many women don't want it either.
It's not the norm for a woman to be masculine, although it's becoming more common. Well, I'm not getting more masculine, Antonio, but it's true that
There are more
more and more masculine women. But that's what we're talking about. Are you talking about your anecdotal case, your personal case? Are you talking about what you feel? That this is something very common among women. Speaking from feelings, not from the logical understanding that we're discussing the general pattern, the most common dynamic, which is what I'm talking about, is that women tend to be feminine, you know? And wanting what he says to disconnect from that energy and let him lead. It doesn't mean we're enslaving you. It doesn't mean controlling you. It's just that you use a series of words that don't make any sense.
that have no meaning, like enslave.
you said control.
Marina.
But I don't know if you've seen lately that there's a trend. There's a reel with a lot of women, and many of them do it because when a girl makes a reel and it goes viral, 500 others copy it. That's interesting. Does it happen with men too? Honestly, this
Is an issue?
it's not about sexes, genders, or biology. Does this happen often on social media today? Where a girl is putting on makeup to go on a date and she asks the guy, or rather she puts the guy's text asking, "Are you ready to go out today?" "Yes," the girl asks. "Where are we going?" The guy answers, "I don't know, wherever you want." And the girl, what does she do? She usually removes her makeup and stays home watching Netflix. What does that imply there? That women on first dates or when getting to know someone want you to plan the entire date. They don't want to have to worry about where to go for dinner. They don't want to have to worry about where to go, about what movie to watch, what streets to visit, what experience to enjoy. Women feel comfortable when they go on autopilot. And the perception of how good a first date is depends on how much the man has been able to lead during it.
Proactive, yes?
Okay, I can partially agree, but just because you do those kinds of things when courting.
On the first dates?
I think
But once
question, why do you think it's so important for women to value that act of leadership and organization on the first dates? From the experience of getting to know each other?
Let's interpret your response, such as saying, "Oh, you do it," or "Why not you?" as showing interest.
Why do you insist he does it instead of you? That's benevolent sexism, which many studies discuss.
That confirm that
Feminists who claim to seek equal relationships actually want men to treat them like ladies. You can't claim equality in a relationship while also wanting to be treated like a lady. That doesn't make sense.
how should you treat a woman like a buddy, but she's a woman, so that's not equal. Thank you.
You just proved my point.
But let's see. I'm not denying that there's a behavioral difference between men and women. What I don't agree with, I've already explained it many times. I mean, with you saying that what we want is a man who will solve our lives 100%, we like to make our own decisions. We like to make them at home and at work. Nowadays, we like to have our own money and manage it as we see fit, or make decisions together with our partner. We're not in that era anymore, yet you still...
Leaving men who earn significantly less than you women. And all the studies show this. Couples where the man earns significantly less than the woman or starts to gradually earn less have high rates of divorce, separation, and zero success. Compared to when the man earns more. When the man earns more, couples tend to work to be very successful and to last much longer. So why deny reality?
Look, if you want me to tell you how I see it from my personal experience, you say if you are with a man who has a lower socioeconomic level than you,
You're more likely to leave him. Also, if I'm with someone of lower socioeconomic status, there are certain plans and certain future projects that he won't be able to do the same way I can.
Yes, I understand that the couple and
The other way around. And that makes
It lose.
that man loses some appeal, if not.
No, he loses his appeal. But wanting a relationship makes things more complicated.
But we don't care. If you work at McDonald's and are feminine, you're family-oriented.
We don't care about your socioeconomic level. I don't think that's true.
You understand? Because you...
In that sense, you are more...
Interested. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just biology. You demand a superior, you demand that he be a guy with at least some ability to obtain resources and some prospects for the future. Honestly, we care more about your past. In that sense, we're not interested at all because we don't care if you're the cashier at Mercadona. It doesn't matter to us at all.
I don't think that's how it is, like you say.
Me?
I work in multinational companies and can assure you that employees there had partners with similar economic backgrounds. Men and women, top executives didn't date women, and wealthy men didn't date Mercadona cashiers. Normally, couples tend
To group together
by their socioeconomic level. That
is true, but for us. The point I want to make is that it's not a primary factor when it comes to attraction.
for you all, is it
A primary factor when it comes to attraction, that's the difference.
you're basically saying that we're a bit materialistic, and in the end, what we're looking for is a man with money.
Yes, you are, because biologically and evolutionarily you've survived more. You've been able to pass on your genes if you're with men who obtain resources. Why? Because you'll get pregnant and won't be able to work or support yourself during that time. Because a man who has resources is going to protect you more, he's going to give you more security, and so on. It's pure biology, and you feminists insist on fighting against it?
But I'm not fighting against biology.
Yes, yes, yes.
No, right? I'm very much a biologist. Number 9,
Percent of women, these aspects, these truths, know.
I don't know why we like them. It's just that we don't live in that era. They convinced you the male role is better, the caveman thing. I agree, but I defend female behavior biologically. As I said, evolutionary psychology explains many of those behaviors. It's true these behaviors come from a time when people lived in harsh environments and needed them to survive. For example, regarding family, we no longer live in that society. You don't live in a cave, carrying a club and having to kill a mammoth to feed your offspring. You're not at that point anymore. Mammoth.
Marina, is it obvious that you haven't consulted this with an expert in anthropology or biology? Our brain is still primitive, and after 40 years of evolution, 100 years of modernity, our primitive brain hasn't changed. Because for 99.9999% of our history here, we've been hunter-gatherers. Marina, seriously, are you completely disconnected from the impact that biology, evolution, and evolutionary psychology have on our daily lives?
Since the start of industrial society, people no longer needed to hunt daily to survive.
People specialize
In a specific job, and each person dedicates themselves to a productive sector. We're not in that environment anymore. It's been over 100 years.
You're still in the same jobs as a century ago. Quite a coincidence.
There truly is a behavioral difference. I won't deny that.
I need to step in because it's important. The point here is this. Just because we live in modern times doesn't mean our brains don't still behave like they did in the caveman days, like you said. Neurochemical behavior, our preferences when it comes to mating, which is something closely tied to neurochemistry. It's closely linked to intrinsic behaviors that we're not even aware of. It's not voluntary. So when a man says, well, no, women just care about material things, don't you get how this works? Men don't just like young women. You don't understand men. Don't criticize something that's intrinsic and not done deliberately.
Is that so?
So the brain evolves to a point where everything we valued and considered positive for mating disappears. It would take millions and millions of years because evolution isn't something that happens in 100 years. Society has evolved. Our brain hasn't.
Our brain also feeds on what's around it.
Studies show that it doesn't. Do you
think that an all
looks at any kind? Sorry to interrupt, Marina, but now I have to step in. Any kind of sociological study you do about trends, about how women usually break up when the man is not the leader. Overwhelming. Well, like women who climb the socioeconomic hierarchy, a lot have an incredibly higher tendency to get divorced. When they get a raise after 3 years and the husband is left behind, the divorce rate usually doubles after those 3 years.
Civil expenses. Remember, as people advance in their careers, their responsibilities usually increase. They spend more time away from home, and it begins, something men have also experienced throughout history, they begin neglecting other areas of life as a result.
Is that why you become less desirable to men when you climb the corporate ladder? Because, as we discussed on the podcast, a successful heterosexual man isn't seeking increased masculinity. Consider this. If you're here due to your own hypergamy, you'll only want men at the same level or higher. But that's not true. Do you really look for men who are just a little bit higher? Because that's the reality. That whole I'm superior thing is a lie. Studies show you prefer a man who earns 57% more. But anyway, just imagine that there are very few men who are actually at your same level. If you've climbed up, if you're at the top socioeconomically speaking, there are very few men. So your options are inevitably going to decrease. I mean, you're sabotaging yourself. If what you really want is to be with a man you want and start a family, because
That kind of man?
that kind of man ignores the traits that made you a leader like him. He wants a woman who does have time and who is family oriented. He wants a woman who is submissive, who is sensitive, who is feminine, who has feminine traits. Do you understand?
So you
Sabotage yourselves. I mean, those who truly want to be with a man and start a family, not everyone. When you move up in socioeconomic status,
You've called me masculine several times, which really bothered me, do you?
could you define it?
Could you define for me what femininity means to you?
Yes, a woman who has masculine characteristics is a woman who is not compliant. Who? How would you say this? Like, who's definitely a fighter, right? So a synonym for fighter is this. I'll
leave it to you, brother. I've already helped enough. This is just being fair.
a debate.
And I openly admit it.
I have the floor. I have my word. And
Second, before you answer, you're amazing.
thank you. And I
Deeply respect you because I've had to step in several times. This is my area of expertise, and that's precisely why it's hard for me to stay quiet. And I've held back a lot of things I wanted to say.
But admiration,
For her, and we should give it to her.
of course, the word is still combative.
A man who
Is in his masculinity. He dislikes combative women. He doesn't like a
A woman who puts herself out there,
who puts herself out there on social media, who shows herself off, who seeks that dopamine, that attention and validation release in her brain. That's something else. Antonio.
is
involved, isn't he?
That too.
No, that's a
thing we don't like, but we're talking about attributes, which is a woman.
masculine and
There, that's not present.
Combative, that was the word. But yes, a man looks for feminine qualities. It's something.
can you define femininity for me? Haven't you done it yet?
Femininity is a series of characteristics that women have more in common with each other than men do with each other. Several of these characteristics are sensitivity, right? Being nurturing, caring, submissive, and accommodating. These are feminine characteristics, and the opposite, not being accommodating, being dominant instead of submissive, being competitive, are masculine characteristics.
By
For example, among many others,
All right, now I'm going to ask you the question.
I believe feminine women can be competitive. Women compete with each other, as I mentioned earlier.
But
That's intersexual. There are
female competitiveness. No one denies it, but the point we want to make.
not for status.
Would like, Antonio, I would like you to define what a feminine woman is and what a man is. I mean, or a masculine woman, feminine woman, masculinity, femininity. How do you see it? Because you said you don't agree with him. How do you see it?
I agree with some things, but not others. For me, a feminine woman is one who is true to her essence as a woman. That is, as I was saying, our biology and our psychology are oriented toward the fact that we can be mothers. I'm not saying it's mandatory because otherwise they're going to cancel me, but it's not mandatory for us to be mothers. But it's designed for that. And we must stick to behaviors that let us be mothers, right? I had a thought, but it's slipping away. Sometimes I get, no, don't.
Worry, Mariana, it's
Okay.
doing very well.
Huh? Later, huh? Well, for example, what you all say about us being more sentimental about that.
I agree with that. And I think we validate our emotions much more and know how to manage them better.
false?
Why?
Because the main characteristic of having good emotional intelligence, that's why you have less emotional intelligence, is to control
And manage. Please don't.
interrupt me. No, because if
You ask me a question, then interrupt yourself. If
you've interrupted
you interrupted yourself. If you don't want answers, don't ask me questions.
me to answer them.
To tell you, women aren't less emotionally intelligent. When we have psychological issues, we seek help and talk to friends.
Hey girl, this is happening to me. I'm feeling really bad. Let's go to the psychologist. Let's go to the psychologist.
Very interesting.
Don't mock me for responding and giving. I'm
Telling you I find it interesting.
It's true. Women are more likely to seek professional help when facing problems. What about men?
Do you just swallow it when you have a problem? I'm not criticizing. I'm just asking. Why do you...
Do it. Why do we swallow it more?
I'm not interested in what I'm telling you, but it's important to know men often sweep things under the rug. And it gets bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger every time. And you swallow your problems and don't look for outside help. What? That ends up exploding, that ends up exploding. And that's why there are more men who commit suicide. That's why there are more alcoholic men. That's why there are more men addicted to gambling. That's why there are a number of social problems that affect men more. Because men, when you have a problem, you seek less help, you have less support, and you know how to manage it worse. The fact that a person says, I have a problem and I'm going to seek help to solve it, is good emotional management. And are we women able to do that? Are we able to identify when we are sad, when we are depressed, when we are happy? And is it harder for you? So, expressing our feelings more doesn't mean we manage emotions worse. It's actually the opposite.
Good point.
Well, yes, there are many characteristics, but there are many characteristics within emotional intelligence, but the main one is management
Of emotions.
Of course, it turns out that men, and in this, men have the advantage. Let me tell you, but very quickly, and now I'll explain why. It's true that you women have other characteristics within emotional intelligence that are superior to those of men. Like, for example, recognizing emotions.
Okay, even...
To catch them? But doesn't that sometimes backfire? But now I'll tell you, men usually approach certain situations from logic and pragmatism. Okay, using reason. You using feelings, we're very different. You are much more emotional. And I'm going to give you all or many or practically all the biological aspects that make this so.
But wait, I need you to give me some context. What kind of decisions and solutions are you referring to? Because for me, a family decision is not the same as a work decision.
What kind of decisions?
Yes, decisions. Solutions?
Said
That,
Conflicts. Okay.
1 second. You said that men usually make our decisions based on logic and reason in...
Women in the...
She's asking you for context about emotions.
To what...
Specifically, which area are you referring to?
yes, no. Armed conflicts with a person, with a situation at work. No.
the same.
Things that need to be resolved, right?
You're mixing different contexts there.
Conflicts in general. Well, not here. What you mean is,
In all contexts,
In general.
in general, women are much more emotional, which is what you told me. That it was one of the points of the debate that I exaggerated women's emotionality a lot. And I don't exaggerate it one bit. And I'm going to explain to you why, okay? I'm going to elaborate very quickly, okay? I let you elaborate before. Now, I'm going to elaborate. And I think you'll find some of these things interesting. So on one hand, you secrete much more oxytocin.
It also helps. Oxytocin also helps. It makes you willing to defend your children, those around you, right?
No, your children, your husband, right? But now let me continue, please. I haven't started yet.
Well, your family, no.
No, your children, your family is the man who is going to take the risk. Always the one.
who sacrifices for his children, of course.
Not for her husband, but that's how it goes. So there are multiple examples of men who rush in to save the lives of women they don't even know. Because we have a protective instinct that you don't have. You have it exclusively, yes you do, but only with children. That makes sense, as you mentioned earlier. A great point. You tend to protect yourselves more because if you put yourselves at risk, okay? The way men put themselves at risk, it's harder for the children. Maybe they won't survive, because...
They need them.
But let's get to the point. You have more estrogen and more oxytocin. That makes you more emotionally sensitive. On the other hand...
Estrogen by itself doesn't make us more emotional. You
are designed to be more emotionally sensitive. Look it up. Get informed. Excuse me?
I have a pharmacy degree. I don't need to look it up.
Study the...
Estrogen levels in women change during the menstrual cycle.
Let me continue.
The cycles.
Menstrual cycles and hormonal changes. Those affect you a lot. That's why women tend to score much higher in neuroticism than men. They don't have anything, and that's a fact. Neuroticism means having more negative emotions. Women generally experience more negative emotions over their lives than men.
Okay, due to...
Is this due to hormonal changes and the menstrual cycle? Here's something very interesting. Women have, on average, a lower amount of serotonin, which is what regulates sleep, hunger, and also our emotions. Okay? And this is key to understanding why is it harder for women to get over a negative emotion? And what does this mean in practice? As you rightly said, you were absolutely right, that women are more vengeful. You tend in general to be more vengeful, more resentful, and so on. And this is because you have more difficulty overcoming a negative emotion due to having less serotonin.
Having said that, at no time... No, I'm talking about feminists. I'm not talking about you right now. I was talking about a general situation. I didn't talk
About you?
But I'm not saying what. I didn't talk about you.
It turns out, look, this is very interesting. Women, there's something called interhemispheric connection. Women have more connections between hemispheres, okay? And this helps integrate language with emotions. That's why women, they express their feelings more.
Men, obviously it's the same.
But that's the reason. It's not because, I'm not saying this about you, okay? I'm saying this because it's a very typical myth that women say, especially feminists, who say no because it's the patriarchy, no because your father at school. It doesn't affect us the same way because we have fewer interhemispheric connections.
Shit, that doesn't represent me. I mean, the first thing yes, no, I'm not talking about you right now. No, but I'm...
Explaining. A reason that I think people might find interesting is that men express their feelings less for this reason. It's not repression, it just doesn't come naturally to them due to fewer interhemispheric connections. Can we also talk about...
But Antonio, we're going to agree. Look, I can keep going. The last thing that's interesting, excuse me for a moment, can you keep quoting me one by one? The differences at the brain level between women. No, at the level?
Emotional, well...
Part of the brain. Let's agree. The first thing I said is that women are neither beings of light, nor are we always wonderful people. No.
No, on average, you are more beings of darkness. Because lesbian couples are the most violent in relationships.
I won't discuss homosexual couples because I'm unfamiliar with their dynamics.
No, but just so you see, it's actually the opposite. Women tend to be darker. I know this is politically incorrect.
But I've already told you before that men are very practical. But I'm not debating with you. I'm not going to argue over something silly. Women pull each other's hair. Yes.
Yes, you're a bit more...
I've traveled with both men and women, and I would much rather go with men any day. You never argue about anything.
You're the first woman I've heard say that.
No, but come on.
All right, gentlemen. So, to wrap up a bit, is there anything you want to say?
Well, let me see. Like I told you, I did my homework. I had several things I had written down that I left me a bit...
Shocked.
Shocked?
Let's go get them.
And one of them is what you said about women's sexual value decreasing after 30. It really affects me deeply. It never fails, does it?
It never fails. It never fails.
You don't have a partner?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes.
No, it doesn't fail. This is the problem, especially for men, huh? Talking about things that aren't pretty, about the female psyche, about relationship dynamics and human nature, right? When things aren't flattering for women and you're a man, you're seen as hating women and being a misogynist. Instead, you understand more about why things happen and have a broader perspective on reality. Well, as I explained before, and you can check this with anthropologists and biologists, not with me, because I really like this. I'm a fan of all this, but I'm not an anthropologist. But they will confirm to you indeed that men, as I said before, have been selecting women. I mean, what they've focused on is women who are young, beautiful, and fertile. Is that why you're wearing makeup right now? Because of what we talked about yesterday, right? The multi-million-dollar industries of cosmetic surgery and makeup are businesses that revolve around delaying the biological clock of women. That is to fake your real appearance, to make yourself look younger and more beautiful. Therefore,
Okay, agreed. Is a 30-year-old still considered young?
Yes, yes, yes. No, I'm not saying they're done. I'm saying that from 30 on, there's a turning point. At that point, you start to become less attractive to men little by little, and your value in the sexual and romantic market starts to decline progressively.
Great, but saying that happens after 30 seems a bit exaggerated to me.
No.
It's a
It's a fact, it's a fact, it's a fact. No.
no fact. Yes, you ask mature men.
1 second, Antonio, as you said, I say it too. Many surveys ask people to pick the ideal age for a woman to find a partner. I mean, excuse me. There are surveys that ask women, what is the ideal age for your man? And generally it's around 35 years old. That's a prime age for men. Usually men want to be that age.
I have a theory about being a 35-year-old man, but Marina...
Does your theory even matter? It's not because...
Go ahead.
It doesn't matter. I mean, between...
You and me?
Yes, I know someone who likes women in their 40s.
Yes, me too, Vale.
But it doesn't matter if he likes them. Large-scale surveys worldwide show women are usually attracted to men with life experience. That usually happens after age 30. A man in his mid-30s is in his prime. Have they done the same survey, the men? Men usually choose between 22 and 27, or
Yes.
the age.
Where the...
Men,
Yes, but not as a couple or about marriage. I only talk about family.
And about marriage. In those surveys, what kind of people participated? Do men in general? Do you think a man... In general, no. I mean, you have to select a specific population group to conduct a survey.
Men in general, they asked a bunch of men of marrying age, of reproductive age, and they asked them, what is your ideal age to find your partner? Your wife? If you had to choose now, what type of woman would you marry? And men, mainly because of fertility, especially fertility, beauty, and youth, usually choose from that group of the population. I think it's extremely dangerous to tell young women, no, you're still very young at 30. It depends on what for. To find a husband, you're not that young. For
nothing.
You're really not that young. That's the sad reality.
When are you...
Most fertile?
Yes, that's true. From adolescence onward.
Until 35, well, obviously.
That's where... No.
No, not until 30. Start from 20.
Careful, we're being...
Generous.
At the end of the...
Day. The ovarian peak is at 27 or 25, between 27.
And 25 from...
There, it starts to decline. I mean, it's not even... and actually, children tend to be much healthier when they come from young mothers, which is...
That here, there's a...
Topic that's not... That modern society is... And it goes against nature.
Look, guys, I think you haven't understood me. I mean, I understand the things you say about fertility and all that. What I don't think is fair either is that you have such a violent position towards women. After 30, because, I mean, it seems like if you have a boyfriend after 30, no one is going to believe you. No one has said Marina. No one has said Marina.
No one has said that. I'll be direct and step in myself. Antonio, you've already led almost the entire debate. A bit of emotion is being shown. You've used a word that can't be applied to natural laws. Fair. The world is not fair.
Okay, we agree.
And about the fact that women are more valued in their 20s than in their 30s. It's not a matter of fairness, it's a matter of reality. Just like a poor man won't be valued. Is it fair? It's not fair, but it is what it is. What I try to show society is to leave aside words like justice and violent. This truth is uncomfortable and they stick to what there is. And what there is the following. Women have to be taught from a very young age how the world works. Feminism does exactly the opposite. They tell them it's fine. When you're 30, go get it, girl. Find a job. Focus on your career. Make a lot of money. Worry about everything except finding a good husband. And that's what's happening nowadays. Women reach a certain age and say, hey, but do these speeches not affect you? Do these speeches affect you when you hear them? Does it bother you that they made you believe you'd always be valuable and beautiful? That's a lie.
I don't think that's true. Women can rebuild their lives and find partners whenever they want, and if they don't, it's by choice. Yes, I believe men who lose their attractiveness to women as they age often become lonely and desperate.
But are you less attractive? Right.
But men too.
What?
No?
No, because you don't value beauty like we do. We see it in you.
Simply put, she's confused. Look, here's the thing. Men in their 40s open up a profile.
Well, okay, what?
No, what are you?
Listen to me. Men who are 40 years old and have money, have status, have experiences. Many women find them more attractive than a 20-year-old who is still innocent and inexperienced.
Marina, no.
Look, I don't think reality is like that. I do. The reality I've seen is that there are many men who during their 30s have focused on their careers, which I find very respectable. They avoid commitment, and after 40 they start losing hair and can't easily get rid of their belly. They're desperate to have children but can't find a woman. But that's the thing.
If you just take minimal care of yourself, you really don't even need to.
It's hard to stay healthy as you get older.
No, that's not true.
For men and for women. Marina, don't you?
Are you helping women by denying their 20s, 30s are often seen as their best age? It's not necessarily true. It's the age when they will have the best chance to get the best man they can go for.
That's true.
That's a fact, and saying otherwise doesn't help them.
I don't agree with that question, no.
You agree? Because maybe you're not in your prime.
On a level.
Biological. Maybe it's...
That's why I'm always in my prime. I see it a bit like we have to start wrapping up. Okay, let's...
Finish with one last thought.
I'll finish what I said earlier about socioeconomic level. I think it's similar with age. Ultimately, you seek someone at a similar life stage. There are cases where you can find someone who, even if they're very young or much older, is at the same stage of life. But normally, people tend to group together within the same age ranges. Yes, women often prefer men who are about 5 years older, right? Yes.
Yes.
That's about the range. Most of us find it unnatural for a 50-year-old to be with a 20-year-old. I don't understand it myself, since I wonder what you'd even talk about with a 20-year-old if you're 50.
Because
Men.
at 90 we go
Let's continue.
preferring a 20-year-old over a 40-year-old. Because
You're hotter at 20 than at 40. The fact that a man wants to be valued,
Nor sex. I mean, is it really...
that's what you call a relationship?
You girls, no. You understand?
Is that what a relationship means to you, Marina?
Don't you get, man? It's very clear. We, Antonio and I, understand women more than you could ever understand us. Give a man sex, treat him well, make him feel admired, give him constant appreciation for everything he does for you, and he'll always be there, right? Oh, what a conversation.
More.
Interesting? How about it? What? Which one? Personally, I do like a woman who has a certain intellectual curiosity, but let me tell you something. For many men, especially older ones who have faced disappointment and divorce, he's 60 wealthy, and will obviously choose the 25-year-old over the 45-year-old.
I'm telling you, the 25-year-old will always win, and it happens, no matter how old he is.
The 25-year-old will defeat the 40 and 38-year-olds. It will always happen that way.
I imagine it could happen, but that person seems emotionally immature to me.
All right, wait.
Ultimately, you want a partner to have sex with you and say yes. You see?
Are you extrapolating the mentality
Feminine?
of finding...
Even?
Yes, total gynocentrism.
Pure gynocentrism. Experience is the best.
What the man wants, and what the man values. He's immature, he's insecure, call it whatever you want, but...
If you're reducing our relationship to just sex and saying that's all it is, I see a relationship as much more than that. And you guys?
Are you? Listen to me, it's just that...
We left.
To respect each other.
But you yourselves told me before that in a relationship there has to be admiration. But what kind of admiration can you have at 60 years old for someone who's 20? Because it's...
She's gorgeous and gives you peace.
Is that admiration? Yes.
Yes.
Marina, yes.
Yes, better than being with a 35-year-old masculine woman who's arguing with you all the time, right? Yes. Me, for example, in my life, I would never be with a woman with whom I would sit across from to debate, like, for example, with you. I mean, my ideal woman, she would never sit down to debate with me, you know? Because I don't want a combative woman. So you don't understand men. You see everything through a feminine lens, and that's your problem many times. You know what I mean? So this is interesting. What was I going to say? About the age thing? About age. I think I lost my train of thought, but that's it. We value different things and have unequal interests.
I think I'm representing a group of men. Like that, very basic. And I think there are. Okay. I remember what I was going to tell you. Within basic men, there are men who go beyond what you're saying. This is...
Pedophilia, this is pedophilia. Are you guys basic? It's just that it seems immature to me. It seems like it's not appropriate. That's all the stuff you women do. When you don't understand men's preferences, when he and I are not criticizing your feminine preferences. In fact, we've spent the whole podcast understanding them from a biological evolutionary perspective, because that's the reality. We're not haters. We don't hate your preferences. We accept and understand them, and we want to succeed with you. But you don't need to understand what we like, because you'll attract us anyway. But to the caliber of man you want, right? That's the problem. So our preferences are demonized, we're insecure, we're this, we're pedophiles.
And your preferences, I'm not judging them. What I'm saying is that I think not all men fit the prototype of a partner that you all are looking for. You just have to
Look at the world's most successful men and the women they choose. Those who have options make their choice, and that's your answer.
Always.
It's not debatable. So, is that why you steal 3? Tell me.
When have you ever seen a Hollywood star, actor, or soccer player, aside from a few rare exceptions? No matter their age, who are they with? A hot 23 to 26-year-old? That's the...
Truth, there are stars who are with their lifelong wives, but
Of course, that's the goal. But in today's world, you have to be honest. Saying you're still the same at 38 when you tell a woman no is a lie.
women themselves.
You know it. And that's why there's a billion-dollar cosmetics industry. There's a billion-dollar plastic surgery industry. What they do is delay aging. What they do is deceive them and say, no, you're going to keep being beautiful, gorgeous, and so on. We'll stretch your face, but for what? To make you look younger, because deep down you know that youth is valued. And that's it. And I don't even think it's debatable, but the fact that you call them basic or emotionally immature is a strategy to humiliate them. You no longer fit into the parameters that we consider most valuable, and
Not anymore.
doesn't work anymore.
And it's a way to ridicule our interests.
And not to make an effort?
To understand them when?
We understand your interests and don't mock them. If what you say applied in real life, there wouldn't be 60-year marriages.
Because the
Men tend to pick up more as they age. Recently, I saw a couple around 60.
Years old, the man. He was very curious.
Wait,
Just a moment.
there wouldn't be lifelong marriages, as men would change every decade and seek younger women. Marina, do you see?
To say that you're not a feminist, they've really pushed that narrative on all of you. I find it increasingly hard to say I'm not a feminist. Do they grasp what our grandmothers always knew? A married man with children finds peace and family with a woman. Besides, a man isn't going to throw everything away just to go off with a 20-year-old who all she's going to give him is a good lay.
Of course, they don't do that.
He might sleep with the 20-year-old because there are a lot of unfaithful men. He might have sex with her, but he's not going to leave his wife. A man is like a loyal dog, though not always faithful.
Loyal?
Very loyal. A man does not abandon.
80% you all. But
So nobody is saying yes. I mean, I just don't understand how you make the correlation that if what we're saying is true, why would men sleep around and still stay married at 60? Because we want a family, we want a woman to love.
To actually talk and so on.
But actually, then do you understand that this man, he had that woman when she was at a fertile age? Yes.
Normally, already.
He gave her children.
That's it.
At a different stage, since having children completely changes a man's priorities. Just like a woman's priorities change.
So then,
The priority is family and well-being. That's if you're a real man, because we should start talking about a lot of men who aren't real men, right? They get a woman pregnant and force her to have an abortion. Careful, that's...
disgusting. I appreciate how strongly you address that topic.
I do.
I know you go hard, especially about men these days.
They're disgusting, but I think it's unfair that men can't say so. My girl is 23 years old, I'm 30. I'm 7 years older than her.
Look, I don't think that's a big deal either. I'm 38. If I were 35,
Would I stay with the partner I have? If I were 35, would I stay with her? Because I love her,
I love her. Exactly. You're telling me yourself. Because in a relationship, there are much more relevant things. No, but if she were 34,
Right? And I'm 35, if I had...
met you, why do you like being with a younger woman? Perfect. Not that men.
In general, understand that?
But I've said it before. I've said, usually men are with girls who are a little younger and women are with guys who are a little more... Mom, I was just saying, I told you, right?
That the rich millionaires in their 40s were with. Those men,
the one who has options, the people who have...
options are with young women.
My girl is 16 years younger than me, and...
Yes, 16.
He's 4 years old. I don't get it. He's 38.
Meg.
I'm 38, she's 22.
32, does she have?
Do you...
Thought you were younger. No, she's not 16.
years younger than me.
And it's incredible how all these conversations we have about relationship dynamics and looking for a younger partner.
Then, in the experience of dealing with a 22-year-old girl who has that energy, that positivity, that smile, that purity, it's just 1,000 times more attractive for a man, 1,000 times more attractive.
Not just physically, but also in what she brings you, peace and joy. As we discussed on the podcast, does a 31-year-old woman without a partner need to become more masculine or develop a cold shell that makes her less approachable?
Men see her as someone with emotional baggage and past traumas from many partners, as if she's been carrying 4 suitcases since the beginning of time.
And men don't want that.
You don't want?
That,
Well, nothing. What can I say? I just don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. Look, I just go like this. Whoosh, and your story vanishes into thin air.
how do you make it disappear quickly for me?
That you don't agree with it. No.
Doesn't mean it's the...
I've had relationships since 30, rebuilt my life, and improved my emotional management. After several experiences, some traumatic, that have made me focus on self-improvement and correct my mistakes. Within the context of a relationship, I'm with someone who is a little younger than me. And even so, I have my own house, my own job, my own assets. I mean, all those stories that what are you saying? Me, personally, and I haven't gone around doing social surveys, okay? Is it a personal case? Personally, it fades away from me. But the thing is, there are many like me. It's not just me. I'm just one among 8 billion people in the world who belong to the exception. So, exception? Why? Because you say so?
No. Well, okay, there has to be another face-to-face, but online. Does that sound good to you?
It sounds good to me.
Marina, I really appreciate that you came here.
Me too, you know?
I'm going to say something. I'm sorry for interrupting, but you've spoken in plural several times. I'm not going to justify it, but since it's my topic, I felt I had to step in. I really appreciate that you came.
Thank you all. It's been very...
Respectful. I value your courage, and I wish you the best with your partner. And to all the women over 30 who are watching this show as well, I hope you get married. I hope you can have children. I hope you can have as many children as possible. This is not a message of hopelessness. This is not a message for them to give up on love or to throw in the towel.
Not at all.
Actually, this is a message encouraging new generations to follow the rules. Real rules of the game. Fake ones they've sold to hurt you. Antonio, always a pleasure having you.
Gentlemen, I'm gonna...
Here is the community link. Antonio and I have a surprise for you inside. A big hug, and see you in the next episode of La Factoria.
Let's get it.